A wedding is supposed to be one of the happiest days in someone's life, a time when family and friends come together, a promise of love, and the start of a new chapter. I always pictured my wedding day as something joyful, full of smiles, laughter, and my family proudly standing with me. But my parents had different ideas. Please subscribe to our channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I had been nervous to tell them about the wedding. I didn't know how they'd take it. We'd always had a rocky relationship. They often ignored my achievements and didn't seem to care about my happiness. Still, I hoped this time would be different. I hoped they'd show up for me, even if we didn't always agree. But instead, I got a cold, short reply. "We won't be attending. We don't see the point. It's not worth celebrating." I stared at the message, my heart racing. Not worth celebrating. At first, I thought I read it wrong. Maybe they meant something else. Maybe there was a hidden reason. But there wasn't. It was just as harsh as it sounded. They weren't coming. Not because they were sick. Not because they couldn't travel. Just because they didn't care. I sat in silence, holding my phone, reading the message again and again, trying to make sense of it. It wasn't just them skipping the wedding. It was a choice, a clear message that they didn't think it mattered. All my life, I'd felt like I didn't matter much to them. They never really celebrated my wins. Never made me feel seen. And now, on the most special day of my life, they proved what I had feared for so long. I didn't matter. I wasn't worth celebrating. A heavy sadness hit me, followed by a wave of anger. I had spent so much time trying to make them proud, chasing their love, hoping they'd see me and finally be proud. But now I knew the truth. No matter what I did, it would never be enough for them. And that wasn't my fault, it was theirs. If they didn't want to be there, I wasn't going to beg. I wouldn't cry or try to change their minds. Instead, I decided to give them something they'd never forget. From that point on, the wedding wasn't just about love or vows or flowers. It became something more, a message, a moment they'd regret missing. I gave it everything I had. I found the most beautiful venue, a garden glowing with lights, filled with flowers, with a view that looked like something from a dream. Every detail was special. Every part of the day was full of love and care. I wanted everyone who came to remember it forever, not just me and my partner, but every single guest. Because if my parents didn't think it was worth showing up for, I was going to show them just how wrong they were. The RSVPs flooded in, friends, family, mentors, coworkers, people who cared, people who wanted to celebrate with us. And as the big day came closer, I was sure of one thing. They weren't going to ruin this for me. And they weren't going to forget what they missed. Because when the wedding day came, they were about to see everything they chose to walk away from. The wedding day came with a rush of excitement. The sound of laughter and happiness filled the air as guests arrived, dressed in their best clothes. The place looked just how I had imagined, soft golden lights glowing over beautiful flowers. And the gentle sound of leaves moving in the breeze made it feel almost magical. As I stood at the altar, looking into the eyes of the person I was about to marry, I felt so happy and thankful. Even though my parents weren't there, and that still hurt, it didn't take away from the beauty of the moment. Instead, it made something clear to me. This day wasn't about them. It was about love, commitment, and the people who showed up for me, who supported me in ways my parents never had. During the ceremony, I felt surrounded by real love. The vows we shared were deep and true, promises that felt like they would last forever. When we kissed, the cheers were loud and full of joy, so strong that any leftover sadness I felt disappeared. For years, I believed I needed my parents' approval, that their presence would make my big day feel more meaningful. But later that night, as I danced under the string lights, holding my new spouse, and surrounded by people who truly cared, I finally understood something. I was already whole. Their absence didn't have power over me anymore. Still, I made sure they'd see what they missed. The photographer and videographer captured everything, every happy moment, every tear of joy, every laugh and dance. I picked out the most powerful parts myself, my childhood best friend hugging me with tears in her eyes, the way my partner looked at me with love and pride, the way joy filled the air like magic. I wanted my parents to see all of it, to realize what they had walked away from. A few days later, I sent them a package, tied with soft gold ribbon. Inside was a photo album, each picture showing how beautiful the day had been. There was also a USB drive with the wedding video, every touching speech, every dance, every moment they had chosen to skip. The last thing was a letter, simple, honest, and impossible to ignore. I told them what their absence meant to me. How much it hurt. How I used to think I needed them to be happy. Then I wrote something I knew they had to hear. This was the happiest day of my life, and you weren't there. Not because you couldn't be, but because you chose not to be. I hope you now understand what you missed. I hope it was worth it. Days went by and I heard nothing. I wondered if they'd just pretend it didn't matter, hide their guilt behind excuses. Then one night, my phone lit up. It was a message from my mom. Just a few words, but full of regret. We watched the video, we saw everything. The silence after that said more than any fight we ever had. Then a message from my dad came. We made a mistake, we should have been there. I don't know what we were thinking. For the first time, I felt the weight of their regret. They finally saw, finally understood, and finally admitted they were wrong. But as I read their words, I realized something important. I didn't need their approval anymore. My wedding had been beautiful, without them. My joy had grown strong, even in their absence. They were the ones who missed out, not me. After that, they started trying to fix what they broke. They reached out more. Came to family events they once skipped. They tried to make up for all the times they ignored my happiness. I let them back in, slowly, carefully, and on my terms. Their absence taught me a powerful lesson. Real love means showing up. And on the most important day of my life, they didn't. They chose not to come, thinking my joy didn't matter enough. But now, they live with that choice, knowing they missed something truly special. My wedding wasn't defined by their absence, but by the love of the people who were there. And even though I let go of the pain, I knew one thing for sure. They would never forget what they missed. Not for one day. Not for the rest of their lives. And that, all by itself, was enough. If this story meant something to you, please give it a like. Subscribe for more true and emotional stories. And let me know in the comments, what does showing up mean to you? Thank you so much for watching, and for being here.